We're live. Hi, hi, hi. Good to see everyone coming in. So today we are talking three things. I'm just going to get everyone a chance while we're getting set up. We're doing this on different platforms, by the way, you lovely bunch. So if you're watching us today on Instagram, Facebook group, YouTube, and LinkedIn, welcome. It's good to see everyone coming in. The idea behind today is to be able to cover three areas to help you get things moving in a better way. These are three areas which, to be frank, a lot of people want to think that they've got it down and it's working great. But realistically, there's a lot of work to do. And there's a reason behind that. And stick with me while I'm just adjusting a few things that's going on here. There we go. The three are tonality, your body language, and the pauses that you use in the conversations that you have. And what I want to do is unpack a number of simple but effective things that you can do inside your business, inside your organization. So you can either jot these down, take notes, and then have an action plan behind it, which is the best way to do it, or just sit and engage and really understand in a bit more detail some of the things that you can do that are just a micro turn sometimes that'll make it easier for you to get more results within your business. So whether you're on Instagram Live, whether you're on YouTube, hi Insta, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're in the group, or if you're join us with LinkedIn, there's a real broad spectrum of people that we help, whether coaches, consultants, and experts, or the companies that have got the sales teams. Each of these today is valuable, irrelevant of what industry you're actually in. So you can take something away from this that you can actually use. And these are some of the things that make a big difference. But if you're starting in a role now and you're trying to progress up to a higher standard, it makes sense to work all these small parts out, which often either people aren't going to help you with, might have bad ways of doing it themselves, or to be frank, they're just not as aligned as they could be for your success. And whether you're doing this on face-to-face, whether you're in sales on phones, it all makes a massive difference. Even if I'm on a phone call, the way I am animated and my body language, it does a number of things. So it's great seeing people in. Thanks for dropping by. We're probably going to be running for about half an hour. And that's mainly because we've got a back-to-back calls for the rest of the day. There's no pitch or sale on this. If you do want more of our trainings, DM me the word more, M-O-R-E, couldn't even spell, M-O-R-E, and I'll send you over more. But again, only get the extra training if you're going to use it. Think about this. How many things have you ever downloaded and you sort of opened it, half looked at it, left it? And here's the problem. In our mind, we think we've used that. And that didn't work. But it wasn't that. We were exposed to the knowledge, but it wasn't something which we incorporated. And even if we did incorporate, did we incorporate it to a high enough standard? Think of it like cooking. Imagine if I give you a recipe book and you go and cook a beef stroganoff. The more times that you cooked that beef stroganoff, the likelihood is you'd probably get better at the recipe, right? Because the actions had gone through. A lot of these trainings that you hear are methods, strategies, frameworks that will elevate your skill set and your ability when used in an effective way. And that's really what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be enjoying my coffee as well. If you're here, drop a comment, let people know what we're doing. If you enjoy these, make sure you drop me a message, let me know. If you're watching this now, if you can comment in the comment section and just put live, hashtag live. If you're watching this back on the replay, I'd really appreciate it if you would put hashtag replay, because I want to see what platforms we're doing. Yesterday, we were live on TikTok instead of being on Insta. And I think we had about 400 people come through, which is great. So we're trying to assess, and we're going to get another phone set up and do it over probably 7 platforms. But I'd like to see where the audience is most engaged with these trainings, so that we can see exactly what you're doing. Great to see people like Neil and Sari putting in their #live. So if you're with us on Insta, LinkedIn Live, YouTube, Facebook group, it's great to have everyone here. Okay, so I want to jump into this. Anyone who hasn't seen my post from today, I've done a short video. It's worth having a look at later. And the reason this is so important, it breaks into tonality. And the reason that tonality is so important, it's not all hype. I don't need you to be 100 miles an hour and all that stuff. There's a phrase that I use with our trainings, and it's, I never told you to kill him. Now, you go to my Instagram, if you go on LinkedIn, if you're on Facebook, have a look when you come out of the stream and watch it. It's about 35, 40 seconds. But it's really important to understand that if you're in a sales cycle, that just sometimes doing one simple thing wrong compared to what's needed will dramatically change the results that you get within that cycle. So I'll give you a prime example, and this is exactly what we do in one of our sessions. If I say, I never told you to kill him, you might get an idea of what we're talking about. Makes sense. If I say, I never told you to kill him, you feel it a bit different, right? If I say, I never told you to kill him, again, it goes to another level. If I never told you to kill him, we get a different implication. So that's with a very bold statement. But let's think about it for a moment. If we all heard, right, a slight difference in implication by changing the tonality on one singular word, think about the amount of words that you say during a sales pitch, presentation, meet and greet, conversation, presentation, podcast, speech, whatever it is. That one single word that you meant something, and if you see this on Insta, go watch it on Insta later. If you're on LinkedIn, watch it on LinkedIn. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, the video's there on all. That change in one single word makes a massive difference. If I say I never told you to kill him, and it's fairly flat, it's ambiguous about what we mean. But if I say I never told you to kill him, the emphasis on the I makes a big difference. If I say I never told you to kill him, the implication is massively different again. And this is why it's so important to look at tonality. You can have a normal conversation. You don't have to be hyped all the time. But I want you to imagine for a moment. Imagine that you've woke up today in a really happy mood. You're having a great day. The sun's shining. You've got in your car. The roof's down. And you've been having a great day. So your energy's high. Now I want you to think about the tonality because your mood is good at that point. Now I want you to wake up. The car's broke down. You've got sprayed by a lorry walking to the office. You've got in and the lift's not working by the time you've got upstairs. Now you get on the phone call at each point. The tonality that you have is likely to have differed between those 2 points. And this is one of the key differences between sales professionals and, well, professionals in general and the amateurs. The delivery and the way we deliver will stay more consistent when you're a professional. It's not where you woke up in a good mood and that day they get the best you, because you understand the power that's in the words that you say. So here's a couple of things that you can do. You have a phone. Now, if you don't like doing this, just for a moment, I want you to imagine, because if you don't like the idea of doing this, there's a reason why. I want you on your next phone calls, whether you're doing Zoom, you're doing phone calls, whatever it might be, I want you to video record you on your pitch, presentation, or sale. Now, if that fills you with dread, Here's the worrying part. If you don't like the way you sound, if you don't like the way you come across, that's the version that everyone else sees. Now, you might be being overcritical, but if you don't like the person that you see, if you don't like the voice that you hear, realize that's the voice other people hear. So if you want to work on your skills and your craft, it actually makes as much sense to work on the small things that you do. Now I want you to, once you've recorded this, I want you to play it back, and I want you to play it back, and I want you to turn the phone upside down so you can't see the video. I want you to listen, or just shut your eyes, to the tone that you use in there. Do I sound professional? Do I sound slick? Do I sound cheesy? Do I sound too over the top? Am I mixing my words? Am I just blurting out sentences? And you might have the intro might be amazing, and in the middle it goes a bit flat. Might be the end, but you seem to rush it a bit more. But if you listen to that and you hear those tones, and then you take those notes, then I want you to watch it back. I want you to watch it, and I want you to turn the sound off. Now, even if it's a phone call, the body language that you use is a real big part of it. I'm nearly always on the phone, standing up, walking around, because I'm a big believer that motion creates emotion. But I also know that I'm very hyperactive. So me at a hyperactive level is sometimes ineffective in the moment. So a lot of the time in the intro, I'll be up, moving around, talking. And then when people I'm in a listening state, I'll be sat down. I'll hold a pen and paper, even if I'm not trying to write stuff down, because I want to be immersed in that moment, and my body language will make a big difference. Think about it with your body language when you talk to people. If I'm just sat here like this, yeah, good. Yeah, good. There's a very big difference. And if I'm sat here, eye to eye contact, looking straight at you and acknowledging and writing notes and all the other stuff. And it's really, really important. This is why when we have tonality, this is why when we look at our body language, this is why when we look at our pauses, it makes such a dramatic difference. And whether that's on Insta, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all of you, makes a massive difference to what happens at the other end of that phone, the other end of that Zoom. So you record it, you watch it back without looking at where you watch it back without the sound, you listen to it without watching it, and then I want you to work out what parts of that conversation could be improved. Don't just say, oh, that was good or it was terrible. Be specific. Maybe you'll break into it and go, okay, my intro is really good. My middle bit was a bit flat and I rushed the end. Okay, great. That gives us an area to look at. Now you can look at, do I change some of the words? Are there some words I'm emphasizing too much? Am I emphasizing the wrong words? Like if we say about something, I don't want you to think about it being bad. I don't want you to think about this being bad. I really don't want you to think about this going terribly wrong. Like it really emphasizes it. And a lot of the time people emphasize the negative without consciously realizing they're doing that. And then this ruins it. So we look at the tonality. We're going to look at the body language. And we're also going to look at the pauses in there. But by you listening back to some of the stuff you've already done, listen back to your next conversations, it's going to make it far easier for you to look at each part of your sales pitch presentation and assess it. Now, the good news is if you watch it back and you go, oh my God, that was amazing. I was the best. There's nothing I can change. There's nothing I can improve. Good for you. But I think we all know that for the vast majority of us, we are going to find things in there, whether you're on Insta, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are, that you can improve if you're trying to get to the next level. Now, what I don't want you to do is just spend time being overly critical for no reason. But you've got to treat yourself well. You've got to be good to yourself. You've got to be honest to yourself. If you think you came across flat in that conversation, let's look at changing that. If you're trying to double your results this year and you've already got a good core foundation and you're having 20 conversations a week, 50 conversations a week, imagine if we can improve that just by the deliverables, by the tonality, by the body language, by the pauses. It makes a massive difference across the board of what you're doing when you're doing it. For the vast majority of people that are out there, if we're in conversations with people and people talk about mirror and matching and all this stuff, I want you to forget about it for now. Anyone who hasn't done mirror and matching, that's like when you're replicating what the other person's doing to try and build up a synergy between you. Now that's great, but it's like doing accents. If you do a really good accent, it can still be really inappropriate. You could do a really good accent, it goes down well. But if you do a really bad accent, you just seem like you're taking a mick out of someone or being rude. So instead of worrying about mirror and matching, focus on you, the intentions that you have, the way that you speak, the body language that you use. If I'm talking to you now on a Zoom call and we're saying, okay, so if we look at, I don't know, where you are now and where you want to be in the next year, what do you think is keeping us here and slowing down getting to there? Now think about that for a moment. Where's our body language showing? We're showing visuals. Oh, sorry guys, just had a phone call coming in. Can you Instagram? We should be back now. Instagram, can you let me know if you can still hear me? Sometimes it does this and it completely ruins and you can't then hear what we're saying. If you're listening on Instagram, can you just put in there, sorry, Facebook and YouTube and all that jazz. Can you just bear with us for a moment just while we get this back online? I think it's dropped off. Okay. Bear me a moment, guys. We just need to reset this one back up because I got a phone call come in from a potential client. And with Instagram Lives, for some reason, if you get a phone call during it, I don't know if anyone else has experienced it, when that happens and the call disappears, the audio seems to drop off. So we'll go back into it. So LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, thank you for your patience. Instagram people, great to have you drop back in. So when we're talking now about what we're trying to do and the processes that we're going through, it's vitally important, as we were just saying, to get the body language right. If I'm talking about going from here to here, by having a visual in front of us, even if I'm on the phone, think about it. If I say, if you're going from here to here, it doesn't make sense, right? If you're on the phone call, you'd adapt it and you go, okay, so say we're down here, we're doing 5,000 a month. Thanks for Instagram coming back in, by the way. So we're here, you're making 5K a month, and then you're trying to get up here to 30K a month. What's slowing us down getting from here to here? Think about the stuff we've done. The body language. Thanks, guys, for coming back in. Sorry, I had a call coming in. It completely ruined the whole experience. If we're saying from here to here, there's tonality, there's visual, but we're also putting pauses in there during the conversation. And the great thing about the pause is one of the biggest problems we have in sales, selling, and business is people feel internally that they don't necessarily trust the salesperson. Now, if I said that you could see into someone's mind when they were selling you something and you could see their thoughts, their real thoughts, does it make sense that that's going to increase the likelihood they're going to believe in what you've got? And often salespeople sit in a place and business owners sit in a place where they stay almost flat But if I'm having a conversation and I show you and you see in my body language and you hear in my tone and you hear with my pauses that I'm thinking, it increases the belief that the person has because they're getting to see. Now, I'm not asking you to fake this. I'm asking you to be this way. Because if I'm sat here now going, okay, so you're at 5,000 a month, you're trying to get to 30,000 a month, or you're at 50K this month, you're trying to get to 250K, 250K. What do you think? What do you think is the big thing that's slowing down our growth to get from here to getting to there? We're combining the tonality, the body language, and the pauses to bring that person in fully, to show we're committed, to get that conversation going in the right way. If this is making sense, put a little comment in the boxes. Let me know what your thoughts, feelings are on this. It's always good to hear how people are finding this connection as well. So there's a couple of things that you can do. So if I'm sat here now, I'm talking to you, I'm leaning in to start with, which is good. But imagine for a moment if we're talking body language. If I'm presenting to you and I'm crossed all the time, I do this when I'm thinking. But typically if I'm talking, I'm welcoming you in with open arms. Like your chest is open to people because you're talking to them. If we're talking here and I'm stood this way, looking at you, and my body language is pointing away from you, it's like I'm trying to leave at that moment. So the small things that you can be doing within your presentation that we're not even conscious that we're doing. A lot of people will flow as they're talking, which can be good. But it feels like something that you need to do, and you're trying to go, okay, we're doing this, then we're going to go here, and then we'll go here. That's better. We're going to go from here, here, here. We're going to go across this. It's going to happen. But actually, when you're like, we're here now, we can take you to here. Then we're going to take you across to here. Those small, almost stiff gestures are keeping the conversation calm, but it also encourages people to trust you because you're confident in those pauses and what you're actually doing. Too many people rush through the words and they lose the power. Think about a movie. The sales script and the movie script are similar. Just saying the words, just talking about your product, going through the motions isn't what makes a good film, and it doesn't make for a good script either. What you want to think about is, how would I want to be spoken to? What are the things that I want to see? Now, for most of us, we have reacted to bad sales presentations. And the good sales presentations, we always feel like we made the decision. Now, you did. But there was a lot of things behind it that you haven't probably even thought about. And it's really important that you're engaging with the people to the right level that they need, because they deserve you to be fully committed. If you're just sat there saying, hi, John, so I'm here today to talk to you about blah, 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 and then we're going to go through this, and then we're going to go through that, and da, 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 da. Just going through the motions, you're not going to, as a buyer, react well to that, so we can't expect other people to do that. We all have very high expectations of customer service and commitment when we're going out to buy something. If I walk into BMW to buy a car, I'm very happy to be unhappy. Oh, I didn't like this and I didn't like that. And blah, blah, blah. Just judgmental. I mean, I have to stop sometimes and be like, what am I doing? But in my mind, I'm just going off to spend £60,000 on a car, right? You've worked really hard and, blah, 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 and it's this big moment, and now you didn't get your coffee or whatever it is. You've had some smug sales guy that's come over and started ranting about this and ranting about that. It's exactly the same on the other side. When people talk to you, they want your full attention. They want the best of you. And it's vitally important that you deliver that to them in the best possible version of you. And this is one of the key things that most people are not going off and doing. They're learning the words, but what they're not going off and doing is getting the delivery. My nose is really itching today, by the way. They're getting the delivery completely off point. Think about a plane going from London to LA. If that plane leaves if it flew at just 1 degree off, the long-term distance is going to be far off path for where it's trying to get to. So planes are always going to be adjusting what they're doing to keep on track to get to that location. But for some reason in business, the majority of people going off are presenting to people in a way where it's A to B and you're trying to pull people back into you instead of you moving to them. If people are buying say with our products, if someone's going to spend £12,000 to work with us over the next year, for some people, they've got £500,000 sat in the bank or the company to use that. Other times, coaches and consultants and experts are putting on a credit card because they know they're going to get at least £30,000 in results. But even if we have got guarantees on our products, even if we know that our products work, we still need to commit to that person and be fully focused on that person. Because if you're not focused on them, if you're not delivering to them, if they don't feel that you're delivering to them, all of these are going to make incremental changes on the long-term profitability or potential buying of your product or service. So I want you to really think about this type of stuff. There was a point years ago that if I was doing a live or I was talking on stage, I would have a super dry throat and I'd be so nervous of the pause, but I'd just keep going. And do you know what else I'd end up doing? Under delivering and talking faster because my focus was on this stuff. Now you're watching this now, and I'd like to think no one freaked out from that little 2 seconds while I had a drink of water. But that's because we're not comfortable within the pause. Now, there's a lot of great things that happen with pauses. And because we're talking about pauses, you're more likely noticing my pauses more, and so am I. But there's a lot of benefits around a pause. And here's a list of a few of them that you can think of. 1, you adding pauses in gives you ability for your prospect, your buyer, your client can actually take a second to catch up and gather their thoughts whilst you take a breath. That's really important. Because if you're going through the motions and just flying through, whilst you say one thing and they're processing it, you're already talking about the next area. Now they're either having to think about this properly and ignore this, or they pay attention to this and this doesn't get the thought that it needs. It's so important when you're going through these motions to make sure that people get you are committed to them. Now, the problem is, the reason that we overtalk a lot of the silences is not for our clients' use or for their benefit, it's for ours. Most people, oh, my nose is itching today. Most people feel uncomfortable with the silence. So they rush in and fill the void, often with stopgap words. But why not have a gap to let your customers fill in the void? Now, there's a couple of other things you can do, so note these down. When you let someone take the time to think in that moment, people are less likely to rush off at the end of that conversation, feeling like they need to think about more stuff. Imagine if my conversation, my presentation, hi everyone who's joining, by the way, it's good to see everyone coming in. We are today live on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Did I say that? We're talking today body language, tonality, and pauses. We're currently talking about some tips on why pauses are so important within your business, your presentation. So if we're talking to someone now and you're just rattling off all your information, the conversation, and they feel like it's going too fast. Anyone's ever been in a car and it feels like it's going too fast? An element of sales resistance will pop up for you. And that's not good. And the more that barrier goes up, the less trust there is. And people just want to get out of a situation. And that's a really hard area to then come out of. So if you can get in the habit of asking questions, pausing, and even when people ask you a question, showing that you're thinking is also a great pause. We've all heard about and I'd like to think you have, listen to understand, don't listen to reply. So understand, reply. We've all been in that situation when someone speaks and you can see them, they're ready to, yeah, I know the answer to this one, like they're in a local pub quiz. And you don't feel listened to. And it's a real problem. So if someone asks you a question and you take a second and you pause and you think about it, people value that more. And if you don't know the answer and you say, do you know what? Can I think on that for a minute? I'm not avoiding it. I just want to, let me just think on that. Let's carry on. Let me think on that in the background. And let's come back to that in a minute. Is that all right? People like that. And it gives you the ability to take things to the next level in this conversation. Because if you're at a stage within your business that you're trying to show people that you are a professional, that involves you being a professional. It's really, really important. We're going to go into this in more depth in the next couple of weeks. I wanted just to spend half an hour today just to drop in, have a chat and go through this. We've got a lot of free trainings. If you are serious about trying to get your business, your sales, your team, your coaching consultant, expert, sales team, whatever area you're in, a lot of the trainings that we have are universal to help you climb up from where you are now up to that next level. And a lot of them are free or extremely low cost because we have got our big programs, which do cost money, sort of 12 to 50,000 pounds. But we've also got underneath that a lot of trainings you can use for free that you can get moving in your business. Because I know what it's like. It's hard to know who to work with, who to trust. You don't want to hand over money for something you're completely uncertain about. So you can quite easily do that. Now, if you DM me the word more, M-O-R-E, and we'll send you over some details. Just let us know what industry you're in. We've worked in a vast majority of the areas around high ticket outbound sales. It's predominantly on my phone, Zoom calls. So we've got plenty that we can help with. So just drop me a DM with the word more, M-O-R-E, and me or the team will be in touch to give you some of those gems that we can use. But thank you very much for everyone who has come in today. We will be back tomorrow to go through in more detail, more options out there, give you some more trainings, and I'll